citizens. Today is March 3rd, 2020. This is my first day of my criminal trial where I'm being criminally prosecuted for public photography because photography is a crime in Canada, according to the Attorney General of Canada. And although I know I can't lose, I'm still a little nervous about things like who the judge is going to be and how am I going to present what I need to present with all the disclosure that didn't get disclosed. It all got withheld, almost everything that Judge Brooks ordered. And oh my God, what if the judge is Robert, the bully in black? Oh my God, what am I going to do if it's him? So there's really only two judges that I actually kind of trust. And one of them is obviously Judge Brooks. And the other one is a former defense lawyer that I just found out recently, around that time, that he had become a judge. He's never been my lawyer, and I'd never been in front of him as a judge. I was kind of hoping to get him as a judge, just for the fact that he's a former criminal defense lawyer. Pretty much all the judges that I have problems with used to be prosecutors. So it's kind of scary. Am I going to get the Vancouver Island Regional Administration Judge, Carmen Rogers, the photophobe? Here she is when she was a Crown prosecutor hiding a witness from the press, so they can't take a picture out in public of a witness to a matter of public interest. She's also the judge in the 7-part series of me exposing lies and crimes of our local prosecutors. She's also the star of a video that exposes her for not being able to answer general questions put to her by an unrepresented accused person. So, her being one of the more easily fooled judges, I sure hope I don't get her. And I hope I don't get Judge Lisa Mersnowski because, I don't know if I could take having my clothes made fun of one more time by a provincial court judge. Like, okay. Oh, and then there's Judge Christine Lowe, the former prosecutor who's married to a former prosecutor who is big star of my YouTube channel where I call him out for being one of the most corrupt persons in all of the province of British Columbia. Anywhere he ran British Columbia's Office of the Police Complaint Commissioner. Yeah, don't want her. And hey, I guess there's always a chance it could be Robert, the bully in black, the judge of errors, BC's most dangerous judge. The guy that clogs up our Court of Appeals. So hopefully I get Judge Adrian Brooks or Judge Malin McKim, even though I have no idea what he's like as a judge. I just know he's a former defense lawyer. So I plan on calling Bruce Dean as a witness, so he's not allowed to sit in court and watch. He has to remain outside of the courtroom. And he has chose to remain outside of the building in the parking lot. He has pretty serious health issues that cause him chronic pain, so he's basically just going to wait outside and smoke joint after joint after joint. And he decided to show up with his body camera that day and have it running while he's standing outside, so it's pretty interesting, some of the stuff he caught. But I was lucky enough, I contacted somebody who kind of knows me and my story and what goes on here locally. And he's aware of some of the things that I'm aware of. And he took interest in this matter and he decided to show up and sit in and watch as long as he could. So it's great because I've got an independent witness sitting in the courtroom watching all this. So here we are. It's the morning of the trial and I've had to take time off work. I don't have a lawyer. I had to do all this work. My defense case that I had to put together by myself at my own time and my own cost. But I am ready to take on Crown Prosecutor Nicholas Barber, former watch commander, Arun Kundu-Thomsen, Canada's top terrorism cop, and the other two police officers that were present during my arrest, Staff Sergeant Greg Pask and Corporal Baden Jones. So I've got a lot of questions and I've got a lot of evidence and these fellas got a lot of explaining to do. So let's go. Let the trial begin. Here goes. All rise. Oh my God, you guys, I cannot believe it. The judge is Judge Malin McKim, one of the two judges that I actually wanted, the former criminal defense lawyer. Oh my god, I'm so relieved. Oh my god, this is going to be a cakewalk. Oh my god, here we go.
And calling number 2 from your honor's list, the matter of Dan.
Barber, first initial N for the Crown, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Dan, the accused, appearing in person without counsel.
Thank you. Dan, what's happening today?
Ready to proceed on the mischief allegation, Your Honor.
All right.
The Crown has one witness by video, as you can see, and 2 witnesses here in person.
All right. So, Dan, the process is going to be that we're going to start the hearing evidence now. No evidence or material is relevant to me unless it's given under oath. Witnesses will testify by video or by whatever other process, and you'll hear their evidence, and you'll be entitled to ask them questions, as may be relevant to whatever this inquiry is about. Understand that I know nothing about this case. I have no idea. I have read that you're charged on July 25th. You interfered with the lawful use of property, to wit, the RCM. The West Shore RCMP detachment. That's all I know.
Okay.
Okay. So I know nothing about you. So listen carefully to the witnesses. Do you have a piece of paper there, and a pen you can make some notes while it's going on?
I do.
When the Crown is finished with this witness, then you'll be entitled to ask questions. After you finish asking questions, the Crown may have the odd question that arises from your questions, all right?
Re-exam.
And then we'll go one witness after another. After the Crown has closed its case, then you'll be entitled to call evidence if you wish. Understand that there is a presumption of innocence. You stand here before me an innocent man. If the Crown calls no evidence whatsoever, you are entitled to an acquittal. If the Crown calls evidence but doesn't satisfy me beyond a reasonable doubt that you're guilty of the offense, you are entitled to an acquittal. And that never shifts to you under any circumstances, okay? You have no obligation to testify. You have no obligation to call witnesses, and regularly accused persons don't call witnesses. They simply will say the Crown hasn't proven it beyond a reasonable doubt. Mischief is pretty self-explanatory. It means that you're charged. As a result of your behavior, you prevented the West Shore RCMP from executing their lawful rights on the property by allowing them to do whatever it is they want to do. So I don't know what is the obstruction, or what's the mischief damaging it or...
No, Your Honor. And I can give a brief opening now,
Sure.
if you want.
Okay. So listen carefully to the opening. The opening is not evidence. It's simply what the Crown says they intend to prove and how they intend to prove it, so you'll have some sense of where the evidence is going, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your honor, I don't believe there has been entered pleas.
Oh, Dan, you have been charged on the 25th of July, 2018, at or near West Shore, in the province of British Columbia, did commit mischief by willfully obstructing, interrupting or interfering with the lawful use, enjoyment, or operation of property. To wit, the West Shore RCMP detachment, contrary to S-430 of the Criminal Code. Having heard that charge, how do you wish to plead, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
All right. Very well. A plea of not guilty is now recorded. Okay. Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Your Honor. Briefly, before I give you an opening about what this case is about, I'd ask that an order be made excluding witnesses.
All right. Dan, any witnesses that you intend to call must remain in the hallway, all right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the same with the Crown as well, obviously.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, Your Honor, I would also ask that an order be made, although it doesn't need to be made, that recording not take place inside the courtroom.
All right. You understand that you are not entitled to record anything that takes place in a court? Everything is recorded for you, so a recording is available to you immediately if you need
I'm
one.
well aware that the accused has the right to listen to the recordings after the proceedings.
That's correct.
But
you can't make your own.
as well as order transcripts, which I've
Correct.
already done.
Correct.
And I'm not recording the proceedings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So thank you, Your Honor. On July 25th, 2018, Dan along with a friend of his attended at the West Shore RCMP detachment. It's alleged that Dan was wearing a body camera as well as in possession of other recording devices. He entered into the West Shore RCMP detachment recording as he entered, recording civilians inside the detachment who were going about their business and either interacting with RCMP or there to report a crime or possibly witnesses. It's unclear, but there are civilians coming in and out of the detachment who were recorded. Dan then provided a notice of sorts to the front desk of the detachment indicating that he was with local media and would be recording in and around the detachment. This all caused some concern for civilian staff members, and they reported it to the watch commander, who was Corporal Kundu-Thomsen, who is the gentleman that was briefly on video, and he will be the first witness when we get him back.
Okay.
Police officers then attended to the location of Dan to have a conversation with him about why he was recording civilians, civilian vehicles, member vehicles, and the detachment. Dan was confrontational at that time and refused to provide his identification, simply referring the police again back to this notice that he had drafted. So the police, being concerned about what Dan was doing and why, continued in conversation with him for some period of time, trying to gather some more information which Dan refused to provide. And he was then arrested for obstruction and mischief, at which point he was taken into the detachment, not handcuffed, but taken into the detachment so that further inquiries could be made. His recording equipment was seized and then he was subsequently released. Now it's the Crown's theory, Your Honor, that Dan is not a member of any media organization. He was not, as he claimed, there for any legitimate purpose, but rather was seeking confrontation with the RCMP. And in that sense was able to get at least part of what he wanted that day. Although, the police did not handcuff him, and Your Honor will be shown a couple of videos, it's clear by those videos that that's, in fact, what Dan wanted. He also had his friend recording the interactions between him and the RCMP, and Dan is well known to the local RCMP as well as other detachments for similar kinds of behavior, which of course increased the concerns about Dan as it related to the West Shore RCMP detachment on July 25, 2018. The Crown is not going to stand up at the end of the day and say that no one is permitted to ever videotape a police detachment in certain circumstances, but context is everything here. And Dan was not engaged in any kind of legitimate media activity or even personal civilian activity. He was there for the purpose of starting a confrontation. So the mischief that was caused is that persons who may have been at the detachment to report crimes or present themselves as witnesses were being recorded. That obviously casts a pall on persons who were trying to go about their rightful business at the police detachment. And it also interfered with the operation of the detachment by forcing the civilian and peace officer employees of the RCMP to deal with Dan, to take time out of their busy schedule to have a conversation with him, and then being forced, essentially, to arrest him due to Dan refusing to cooperate with them or showing even any common courtesy as far as interacting with them. That, in a nutshell, Your Honor, is what this case is about.
Is there not a trespass or a lawfully? It's not public property. I'm just saying, are there alternative convictions you might seek in the event that? Is there not an unlawfully? I'm just curious whether there are other routes that you might. That I need to keep my mind open to.
Yes, Your Honor. I did turn my mind to that prior to charge approval. I am not aware of any specific criminal code sanctions that involve this sort of activity as it relates to a police detachment. There certainly are trespass provisions, but those primarily deal either with trespass by night,
right,
or civil ramifications.
Right. Of course.
Now there certainly are allowances for this kind of activity in certain circumstances. Most commonly it's in union dispute contexts when recording is made of different facilities or industrial properties. But there is simply no rational reason for Dan to be doing this other than he is seeking to cause a confrontation.
Okay.
And he likely will have a different point of view about that, Your Honor.
Well, I'm sure.
And may provide evidence in that regard, but I am certainly at this point not aware of any of that evidence.
All right. Let's go.
Thank you, Your Honor. So if we can try to dial in to Corporal Kundu-Thomsen. He's going to affirm, Madam Clerk, please. Just while Mr. Sheriff is doing that, Your Honor, as well I draw Your Honor's attention to Section 429 as well as Section 430, where it makes it clear that this isn't a general intent offense. Recklessness applies, and so that would be the test at the end of the day. And I'll have more to say about that at the end, but...
Thank you.
Could you just stand for a moment? Could you please state and spell your first and last name for the record?
My lord, my name is Arun Kundu-Thomsen. First name is spelled Arun. Surname is spelled Kundu-Thomsen.
It's funny. Arun Kundu-Thomsen thinks we're in Supreme Court. He's calling the judge my lord, which you only do in Supreme Court. We're in provincial court. You call the provincial court judge Your Honor, not my lord.
Thank you, sir. Have a seat if you wish, or stand as, whatever you prefer.
Thank you, my lord.
Thank you, Corporal. You're currently testifying from Cornwall, Ontario. Is that right?
That is correct, my lord.
And you were transferred there some time after this incident that occurred on July 25th of 2018. Is that right?
That is correct, my lord.
Now, on July 25th of 2018, you were the acting watch commander of the West Shore RCMP detachment?
That is correct. I was the watch commander in uniform on that date.
And what is the role of the watch commander? What? The role that you had on July 25th, 2018? What are your responsibilities vis-a-vis the detachment and the persons working there?
My lord, I am basically the supervisor in charge of the entire uniform component for that day. Part of my responsibility, as Crown has indicated, is also for the safety and security of all of the civilian members, all of the people that work in the building, my own members, and the building as well. That is part of the watch commander's duty.
Corporal, at about 3 p.m. were you advised that there was an unknown male video recording at the West Shore detachment?
That is correct, my lord. Corporal Baden Jones came up to myself and Sergeant Pask, who were just arriving at the detachment from a caller from outside. And Corporal Jones approached us and indicated exactly what Crown has indicated. There was a man filming the back parking lot, the secure compound of our detachment, where private vehicles are parked alongside police vehicles.
So that part of the detachment, does it contain numbered obvious police vehicles as well?
That is correct, my lord. There are marked police vehicles. There are unmarked police vehicles. There are also personal vehicles for the police officers and for the civilian staff. That's why it is a restricted parking lot specifically for the detachment employees and police vehicles.
And at that time when you were notified that there was a gentleman video recording that part of the detachment, did that cause you any concerns at that time?
Yes, it did, my lord. As I indicated, the watch commander's role is responsibility for the safety and security of the staff in the building, specifically the municipal police and the uniformed members. My concerns were specifically because we had incidents in the previous 5 days previous. We had a male in the back parking lot who was also confrontational when he was arrested after he identified himself. He actually had a syringe and half a pair of scissors in his pocket. So it's not unusual. We've had a few incidents in our back parking lot recently that caused a lot of fear for the municipal employees. And when someone is in the back parking lot, they do not feel safe going out to their vehicle.
While we're getting Corporal Kundu-Thomsen back, Your Honor, I'll just text, if I may with permission, the
Sure.
tech person at their end to inform them of the problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you heard my full answer, my lord. If not, maybe Crown could advise.
You said that there had been an incident earlier where a male was found with a syringe and half a pair of scissors. And it's important that people feel safe when they're in the back in the reserved parking lot.
That is accurate, my lord. That was 5 days previous to this event with Dan. And about 2 months prior to that, there was also an incident where a male came to the detachment and using force after the detachment doors are locked, ripped open the front doors and entered the lobby, indicating he was testing the response by the police. A few months prior to that, we had a male come to the back area exactly where Dan was filming with 2 large kitchen knives, one in each hand. And he tried to get into the back door, which is a secure door. He was also taken down at gunpoint because of the 2 weapons in his hands. And again, prior to that there were various incidents at West Shore. And just a little over a year previous, the Namor detachment had another incident where an individual beset the back parking lot of the detachment watching it. And when members came out, that individual came into the back parking lot with a vehicle and tried to ram the members. They jumped out of the way and the individual hit garbage containers. With all of this in mind, as a watch commander, I have to be very cognizant of what's happening around the detachment for the safety of the individuals, members coming and going, the public. And then in that back area did cause me a safety concern, which is why he was approached.
Now, there's many employees that...
Hang on. Just a second, Mr. Barber.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Is there a problem?
I'm sorry, I apologize. I missed which detachment. Is this person rammed in a vehicle ramming something? What detachment was that?
My lord, that was the Namor detachment in the back parking lot.
Nanaimo, thank you.
But we get bulletins about issues that happen all over the island. Threats to police offices.
Thank you.
Now, Corporal, many of the vehicles in that back lot belong to civilian employees. Is that right?
That is correct, my lord. All the civilian members, clerks, records, 911 dispatchers, all the civilian support staff, that is their parking area as well. And their personal vehicles are all there in the immediate area that was being filmed.
Now did you then attend with Sergeant Pask to inquire as to what this individual who was filming was about, what he was doing?
I lost a little bit of that question in the feed, my lord. But yes, I did approach the individual to ask him what his intentions and his purpose was, and also to ask him to identify himself. Because at this point in time when something like this happens, because of the security concern, the safety of our civilian staff and our members, I have to put in a security incident report. And also, I wanted to assess what exactly was going on, if there was a threat to my staff. The civilian staff essentially wouldn't come out in the back parking lot with this male in the back, which is one of the reasons Corporal Jones, I believe, was sent out there.
Now, did Corporal Jones provide you with a piece of paper that had been left at the front desk of the detachment by the individual who was doing the video recording?
Yes, my lord. Corporal Jones had a piece of paper in his hand. He did have it. He showed it to me while I was talking to Dan, and it did have it was a bit of notice that Dan would be filming in the area, but it did not have his name. It did not have an actual media affiliation. It didn't have a contact number. We've been given documents like that before at the front counter from, if you want to call it mainstream media, but they always individually put down the name of the person, a contact person if there's any concerns, and also a phone number. This note had none of that.
And did you make note of? Well, first of all, do you have a copy of that notice with you?
I do, my lord. I have it here. It was provided with the disclosure package or with. It was provided by Crown to me.
Okay. Can you please read to us what that notice says?
Yes, my lord. My lord, I'm back. If you can hear me?
I can, thank you, yes.
Okay. So, my lord, Crown asked me to read the notice that was dropped at our front desk, and I have it here in front of me. I will read for you. It says, Notice. Please be advised local independent media of communication is in your area today to take pictures and video to be published for news purposes and to communicate matters of public interest. You will likely notice someone in a high-vis vest taking pictures and video of this property, buildings, vehicles, signs, staff, etc. Please do not be alarmed. This should all take between 30 to 60 minutes depending on activity in the area. The photography will be done from public sidewalks as much as possible, and no unauthorized entry into restricted areas will be attempted. All signage regarding restricted access have been acknowledged prior to this visit. Thank you. And again, my lord, when we get these types of notices in the past, they usually have a name, a media affiliation, and a contact number as well on them just for accountability's sake. This notice had none of that.
All right. Thank you, Corporal Thompson. I'm not going to ask that be made an exhibit at this time, Your Honor. I'll have one of the other officers present
Thank
the
you.
original.
Well, let's mark it as A just so we...
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. I have another copy here.
Thank you.
Now, at the time that you went, at the time that you were notified that there was an individual recording at the detachment, did you know who Dan was?
I did not, my lord. I had not met nor heard of Dan prior to this event.
Okay. Now, when you attended to interact with Dan, was Sergeant Greg Pask with you?
Sergeant Pask was with me and Corporal Baden Jones was also present.
All right. And where approximately did you finally interact with Dan?
Dan was on the north, if you want to call it the northwest corner sidewalk of the detachment, just off the property line, I believe would be the best way to describe it.
And?
Just off the driveway exit.
Of the driveway exit. And what were you able to observe what he was doing at that time when you approached him?
My lord, Dan had a camera on a tripod, and I believe it was facing down towards the street. He, indicating, I guess, or to make it look like he was filming the street sidewalk area. He also had on him a GoPro camera on his chest. And that's what alarmed me, is the fact that a camera on a tripod is stationary, but everywhere Dan turned, he is filming our secure compound with personal vehicles. So he had a camera on his chest at that point in time, was the camera in his hand, and a cell phone as well. Subsequently, I also found that he had a camera on his eyeglasses as well, and that's specifically where he was when I approached him. And every time he turned towards the detachment, because of the placement of the GoPro on his chest and the other cameras, they filmed directly into the actual secure compound area.
Now, when you approached Dan, did you ask him what he was doing?
Yes, my lord. I asked him what the intent was with his filming, and I also asked him if he had any identification, because I was trying to ascertain, specifically, we've had issues with groups called Freemen on the Land, sovereign citizens, and I was trying to ascertain what his intent was. Again, being the watch commander, I have all of these things in the back of my mind. I know what's happened in our parking lot recently. I know what happened in the Namor detachment. I am responsible for the safety of everyone in the detachment. Our civilian staff are now not wanting to go in the back parking lot because an individual was there filming, so I asked Dan what his intent was and for identification.
And what was Dan's response to you?
Well, he wouldn't provide any identification. He said he had none on him.
And did he refer you to the notice that he had left at the front counter?
That is correct, my lord. He said he left a...
Maybe if we stand down for 2 minutes, Your Honor, it might work better. I'll just phone the tech at that end and ask him to keep us connected, or is this permissible?
Well, is it being cut off deliberately?
Well, I don't think so, but
I can hear you again, my lord.
Is there some reason at your end, officer, that you keep getting cut off?
I can see I have the camera with you and I also have a camera with my feed. My feed is never interrupted.
Oh.
Your feed seems to disconnect every few minutes. But I don't know whose end it's. Where the problem is, my lord.
Okay.
I'm not that tech savvy. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
we'll soldier on, Your Honor.
Thank you.
After Dan. Sorry.
You were in the middle of a sentence. You said he. You said Dan said he left a notice. And then we lost you. So you were just articulating to me what Dan said to you.
Yes. So the notice was with Corporal Jones. Corporal Jones handed it to me. I asked Dan for identification. He indicated he did not have any. I asked him what his intent was and he said just to film the property. At this time, Corporal Jones handed me the notice, and that's when I read the actual notice that was handed out. And as I indicated, my lord, it had no contact number, no actual company affiliation, whether it was, if you want to call it, mainstream or independent. Usually there's some company name. And it had no contact number or any contact details on it. It was just a generic notice.
And did you engage in a conversation with Dan about what your concerns were?
Yes. I indicated to Dan that in lieu of current trends, filming secured areas of police offices or government buildings is something that brings a lot of concern to the police and to government officials specifically. And I also advised him that I would be happy to file a security incident report because of this, because he's not filming the front of the detachment, what mainstream media normally does for stock footage. He was filming the secure area and capturing license plates. So this is why I addressed that concern to him. I advised him that I would have to be putting in a security incident report, and that he would be a subject of that security incident report, which is why I asked him for his ID.
And then did you ask Dan again to provide his identification to you?
I did, my lord. I asked him several times to provide identification. First he indicated that he had no identification, but he could still provide me a name and date of birth, which many people do, and then we can confirm by description that it is that individual. So I did ask him more than once to provide his information, identity.
And did he provide that verbally or otherwise?
He did not, my lord. First he indicated that he did not have any identification, and then when I asked him flat out for his name, he would not provide that either.
So at this point now you're interacting with Dan. You have civilian employees who are afraid to go out to their vehicle. You have 3 members, peace officers, who are dealing with Dan outside of the detachment, and you have these other concerns. Is that right?
That's correct, my lord. At that point in time we have to, like I said, I'm responsible for the safety of the detachment, and I am to resolve the matter civilly and cordially. If Dan had given me his identity or a mainstream company or a press card, that would have been the end of it. And I would have asked him to move around to the front of the detachment and asked him to delete anything that compromised any security of the back of the detachment. In good faith, media have done that in the past, but Dan just continued not to want to provide information as to his identity.
Now at this point, do you have any information that Dan is part of any sort of media group, either formal or independent or otherwise?
Once I read the notice, my lord, it did say, a local independent media and communications, I guess, local independent media. It quotes, specifically, the notice says, please be advised. Local independent media, so I believe that I am too, that he is from local independent media. But normally they do provide a name, whether it's a video blogger, City TV, Global TV, Czech TV, they provide some.
Here we are.
Okay. So Corporal Kundu-Thomsen, have you at any point, you yourself, been provided with any information from Dan that he was in fact a part of any kind of local independent media?
Other than his utterings in this notice, I have not.
Okay. Was there another gentleman located nearby as well?
Yes, my lord, there was another individual who I saw, and he was north of us with a separate video camera. He was facing away from us, but he had positioned the camera to videotape ourselves with Dan. This individual was approximately, I'd say, 30 to 40 feet north of where we were on the sidewalk, filming backwards without actually looking at us. So I guess he was looking at the viewfinder, or the little screen on the camera it appeared to be, and the camera was pointing at us. That way he didn't have to face us. And he appeared to be filming the interaction between us and Dan. And at this point in time, I realized, once I saw that mail, I realized that Dan, I believed at that point in time, was looking for some confrontation with police. Which again alarmed me even more as having an individual doing that. I saw no reason why somebody else would want to document his interaction with the police, unless they're trying to document some type of a conflict with police.
Now, after several minutes of discussion with Dan, did it become clear to you that he was not going to provide any sort of identification, whether by document or verbally?
Yes, my lord, it did. He indicated he did not want to because of a specific Vancouver Island police investigator that he had some type of an interaction with. So given that, now I started to wonder. At this point in time, I already told him I'd warned him about public mischief if he's trying to mislead the police. I also, at this point in time, have also told him that if he does not identify himself, I'm now talking to him, he's not under arrest. But I'm talking to authority of mischief and public mischief, and if he refused to identify himself further, he'd be committing obstruction as well at this point in time. So I gave him many opportunities to identify himself. If he doesn't have identification with him, he could easily tell me who he is verbally. That's the practice that many people do when they don't have ID on them, and Dan did not want to do that. It was very apparent to me at that point in time that he was only there to document some type of conflict with us.
And once it became clear to you that he was not going to provide that information or shed any light on what was going on, was he then arrested for obstruction?
My lord, yes. I gave him several warnings letting him know that he would be arrested for obstruction if he didn't provide any identification, because I am now looking at mischief. Public mischief initially because I thought he was trying to mislead us, and he still would not provide his identification, so he was placed under arrest for obstruction.
And what did Dan do when you told him that you were placing him under arrest?
Initially, first he indicated he did not believe it was a lawful arrest, but then at the same time he also, shortly thereafter, turned around and put his hands behind his back to be handcuffed. He wasn't violent. There were 3 of us and 1 of him, so I did not see the need to actually arrest him with handcuffs. So he was arrested, but I did not see the need to place handcuffs on him.
And this is all being, from what you could tell, videotaped by this second male, is that right?
That is correct, my lord. My belief was that the camera was pointing directly at us, that we were being videotaped by the second male. As well, I also knew from the camera, the GoPro camera on Dan's chest.
At least you got to hear the prosecutor threaten me.
That is bizarre.